And that's why it's so important to take the first step, because you never really know where you'll end up. So, yeah. I mean, that's something that I think everybody should consider, because we like to think so far in advance when really, as soon as you take one step, you open yourself up to infinite number of different possibilities, and your mind can't even rationally comprehend nor understand nor even try to foresee what those possibilities are, because they're infinite. Anything could happen in any moment, you know, and it's really difficult for your mind to try to pinpoint what exactly is going to happen. So usually it goes to the worst thing that could happen, and that's what people confuse with the most rational thing. To them, the most rational thing is the worst thing in all cases. And I was having a conversation with someone today about that, and I was saying, well, you gotta have balance, you know? If you're gonna think about the worst thing, you also have to think about the best thing. So you got the worst thing and the best thing. So anything could happen in between the spectrum, but as long as you're considering all things, you know, you can end up in a better place than if you only considered the worst things. So that's definitely something that we should consider going forward, and I'm glad you said that.
Thank you.
And I saw they were playing basketball, and I was thinking, you know, I should go over there just to be there, just to watch, because I like basketball. I like watching basketball. I like playing basketball. I like coaching and all that type of stuff. And I was like, you know, this would be a good opportunity for me to experience that. And my first thought was, why would you go all the way over there? It's way over there. You don't know these people. You don't know the situation. You don't know. They may not even want you to be over here. You don't, you know? And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep jogging then. You know, and that line of thinking alone may have prevented me from an opportunity that I want, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, as small as it seems, as trivial as it seems, it's like, I don't know what could have happened in that situation if I went. Not pessimistically, but like optimistically. Like I could have went and then started playing basketball with people and made new friends. Or I could have went and found out that they're looking for a basketball coach. And I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I want to do that. You know, I could have went and anything could have happened. But instead, I let my own thinking get in the way and cloud my judgment.
Right.
So it's unfortunate. But the truth is like, we as people do that 100 times a day, 100 times. Big things, small things. Yeah, I'll eat this apple, but I know it's not gonna taste good, so I'd rather just eat the donut. You feel me? Like, as simple as that sounds, or yeah, I mean, I may eat it today, but I don't think I'm gonna do it tomorrow, so why even try? You know, we talk ourselves out of things a lot.
It's just like, rather than me drinking water, I'd rather drink soda.
Exactly.
Or juice.
Exactly. And those are physical things, but what about like something as big as your job? Well, no, I can't leave, because if I leave, then, you know, the bills and how am I going to pay for Sally's schooling, and how am I going to, which is reasonable to think. It's rational thought. But in reality, if you think that thought, you could also think, well, shoot, if I leave today, there's jobs in the world that are hiring. Shit, I could work from home. I don't have to come all the way over here on this 2-hour commute. Could think like that too. So that's why you never want to like just only listen to the negative thought. Only listen to the rational part that's like, oh, only this is possible. Because your possible and someone else's possible are not the same thing. I know my diagrams are like all over the place. Yeah. But your possible and the next person's possible are not the same. But that person believes in their possible. You just don't believe in their possible for you. You know, you don't believe what they think is possible for you, and that prevents you from stepping outside the box.
When do you feel the most unsure of yourself?
In a ironic way, I feel the most confident when I'm working, and I feel the most unconfident when I'm working. Working as in creating. There's times where I feel like I'm on top of the world, and there's times where I feel like I may never reach, I may never get it.
Yeah.
And you already know what those sessions look like. When everything's flowing, you're on top of the world and nothing can stop you. And then when you're kind of like drudging forward and dragging your feet forward, just trying to finish something. It's like, damn, am I ever going to get this right? Should I just quit? Do other people just know this better than I am? Are they just more gifted? Funny enough, I think as I work every day on something, I find those moments when I'm down and low and I'm ready to quit. And then I find those moments when I'm up. And that's why persistence is so important, because you're gonna feel both. You're gonna feel high one day, you're gonna feel low the next day, but it's not do you feel high or low, it's can you stick with it long enough to see the completion. And if you can, then you'll get the prize, but if you can't, then you won't get it. Some people believe that God challenges them, and tests them. I think I don't necessarily agree 100% with that, but I do believe that life circumstances test your persistence. They test whether or not you are patient enough to stick with something long enough. Like, you plant a seed in the ground, are you going to expect it to grow to a full tree or fruit by tomorrow? And if it doesn't, are you going to just move on to the next thing and give up on it? Or are you going to continue to feed it and give it sun and nurture it? And I think with our culture of, instant gratification, it's very easy to give up on something when you don't see the fruit of that labor instantly. So you always have to be persistent. And I'm being more persistent when it comes to things, even on my laziest days. Still sticking with it, still telling myself, all right, I'm just chilling right now, but tomorrow I'm gonna get to it, or later today I'm gonna get to it.
Why do you think so many people are struggling with chronic negative thinking?
Chronic negative thinking.
Yes.
The first thing that comes to my mind is two things. One, you should always have some type of checks and balance system when it comes to your thoughts. As negative as your thought is, or as negative as a thought is, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. You can look in the mirror, be skinny as hell, right? Be 7 feet tall, 100 pounds, and still look in the mirror and think you're fat. Is that truth?
No.
Not to the average person, no. It's true for you, but it doesn't mean it's truth,
Yeah.
So,
It's insecurity.
yeah, you always have to have some type of checking system, to check each thought, almost like discernment. If you can question every thought you have, every negative thought you have, and you start to break down the root causes of them and why you think them and if they're actually true or not, I think a lot of those negative thoughts will start to dissolve and break down on themselves. When we have a negative thought, we just believe it. Initially, we just believe it, and then we start to find evidence to support that case, instead of doing the opposite, which is finding evidence that doesn't support it. Because if we found evidence that doesn't support it, we wouldn't believe it. But if we find evidence that does support it, we will believe it. And in some cases, you'll find both. You'll find things that will suit that negative thought, and you'll find things that go against it completely. So at that point, it's really up to you. Do you want to continue with this negative thought? Do you want to accept it as your truth, as your reality? And I'm saying that very objectively, and some situations are different, but generally speaking, if you question the thought, you'll see how flimsy it is. And then two, we don't really know how great we really are, and that's a whole documentary, on why that is the case. But usually that comes from never really being shown and being told, and thinking we're just fallible humans that are made to sin and made to mess up, and that's all we'll ever be. We're just like everybody else, and we're not special. And I think that's bullshit. So I don't know. I just don't believe that. I think everybody I'm not the type of person to say, oh, everybody's special, but I do believe everybody has that thing that separates them from the next person that just naturally they're very talented at or very good at. I just think for a lot of people it's untapped. A lot of people it's not mined. A lot of people it's not encouraged. But for the most part, we have no idea what we're capable of because we don't even challenge ourselves. We don't put ourselves in the position to know. So I'd say it's not questioning those thoughts and then not really knowing the truth of who we are. That's why so many people struggle with like a lot of negative thinking.
The reason why I'm staying is to not give up, but of course, there.
Staying where? They're probably not gonna know where you're staying.
Staying
at your job.
Yeah, me staying at my job, but there is times where similar to what you say, which you do have a point, is you got to know when to hold on or when to walk away. You got to count your money. You know that song? It goes hand in hand. You know, I don't give up easily. You know, you can't give up easily because if you just always give up all the time, you're going to always keep running from something. But sometimes you got to know when to walk away. And that's the best thing to do, you know. It also goes hand in hand with life. You know, I deal with this. I'm sure a lot of other men deal with this, that you always got to fight. It's not always about fighting. You also can, you know, stand up for yourself by saying, hey, verbally, I'm not dealing with this. I don't want to be around that. So it doesn't always have to be you using your hands. It could be you using your voice and standing up for that. And that itself is a fight, you know, verbally rather than physically. That's a mature way of handling it. And that leads to that question, what are some negative things that people say to pick on you or upset you?
What are some things that people say to pick on me or upset me? It's weird. I don't feel like I get too much nowadays. Maybe it's people judge me for my nails or something, or the way I look or something like that. But I don't even get that too much anymore. Because I like to think, I like to believe that my presence speaks more for itself than anything that, you know, I do physically. Like my energetic presence and like the energy I bring into a room speaks for me more than like the way that I dress, even the way that I dress. So yeah, I think people have like their assumptions about me when they first meet me, and then when they hear me talk like this, then it's kind of like, oh, okay. You know, like that's kind of what goes off in their mind is like, oh, okay, no, this is a cool dude, or oh, okay, he's not X, Y, and Z, or oh, okay, he doesn't believe X, Y, and Z, you know? So I think for me, it's probably the biggest block or like resistance towards myself from other people is like first impression. And I've learned to get through that by just being confident in who I am and like staying focused more so on my goal and my direction rather than how I'm going to be perceived as I go on that.